Hey everyone, today I'm going to go through the single biggest factor holding your recovery back from your training, and that is sleep. Now, everyone knows that sleep's really important, but for some reason, everyone seems to be neglecting sleep, and they're all focused on ice baths or all these other recovery trends that are going around at the moment. And yes, they look cool and exciting, but if your sleep is shit, then it doesn't matter what you do. It does not matter how many hours you spend in the ice bath, your recovery is still going to be shit. Now, we all know that sleep is beneficial, but what does it actually do? To name but a few things, sleep can aid your muscle recovery, it can aid endurance and strength, your hormonal balance, thermoregulation, your memory and your ability to learn, your problem solving and creativity, your focus, your concentration, your decision making, and obviously your physical health in terms of the risk of various health issues such as cardiovascular diseases, diabetes, obesity, all of which are reduced from better sleep patterns. And all of these studies have shown the benefits that I've just mentioned. So I'm not just making it up, you can go and check it out yourself. But how do you actually sleep well? So many people struggle to sleep, and today I'm going to give you some tips about how you can optimize your sleep and just give you some ways that it might make it that little bit easier for you to get to sleep and get a better quality sleep. So the National Sleep Foundation, which actually is a thing, believe it or not, recommend that you need about 7 to 9 hours of sleep per night. So these tips I'm now going to give you are the best tips you can use to try and improve your sleep and get you consistently in that range. The first thing we're going to talk about is establishing a consistent sleep schedule. So this one is pretty self-explanatory and it's very simple. If you go to bed at the same or similar times each night, it tells your body that it's ready to shut down for the day. If you go to bed at 9 p.m. one night and then midnight the next night and then 1 a.m. the next night and then back to 8 p.m. or 9 or whatever, your body's just all over the place. It's constantly adapting and it never gets time to settle into a nice, consistent schedule, which means that not only might you get less sleep, but the quality of your sleep isn't going to be quite as good as well. Now, you don't have to be doing this 7 days a week. Like at the weekends, everyone likes to go out or do whatever. Obviously, on the weekends in particular, the time you go to bed may be slightly different. But if you can get this nailed for at least 5 times per week, you should be able to see a huge improvement on how consistent your sleep is, and then it will actually unveil any other issues that you may have, because then at least you know you're getting a consistent sleep, and if it's still not going well, then there's obviously an underlying issue and something you're not doing quite right. The next tip I'm going to go through is simply creating a relaxing bedtime routine. You have routines for everything, whether that's in the morning and you get up and brush your teeth, and then you have a shower, and then you make your breakfast, etc., etc. You have a routine for when you get to work. You get into work, you sit down, you do whatever to start your day. But no one really has a bedtime routine, and it's just as important as the rest of the routines that I've just mentioned. Now, I understand that our lives are just routines, so it can be quite boring. However, I'd rather a slightly boring bedtime routine than be awake for 3 hours and try to go to sleep and be frustrated and stressed and then end up not sleeping at all. So if you wouldn't rather that and you'd rather just cut the boring routines and don't sleep, then obviously don't listen to this, and this video is definitely not for you. Simple things you can do to help create just a very small routine is like an hour or two before bed, just dim the lights if you can in the room that you're in, reducing the blue light, that sort of thing. So just being a little bit mindful, because obviously a darker room makes it easier to sleep. So if you just slightly darken that room to make it a little bit more of a signal for your body to sleep, then it might be a little bit easier to get to sleep. You can also put on like a calming ambience in the background, or like background music, preferably music without lyrics, usually works better. You can meditate. There's so many different things you can do to create a routine. We're going to go through some of them in just a moment in a bit more detail as their own little points. But yeah, create a routine is definitely one of the best things you can do, and it just adds to that consistent schedule, consistent routine. Okay, next up is optimizing your sleep environment. So there's so many things you can do just to make your room as optimal as possible to try and get to sleep. The first thing is the temperature. So studies have suggested that the optimal temperature is around 18 degrees. Now, I don't suggest that you go get any thermostats out and stressing and having a breakdown if it's 18.3 degrees or something like that. okay? Just think about making sure that your room isn't too cold or too hot. So obviously in the summer, you want to think about preserving the coolness from the morning air throughout the day. So you can do this by keeping the windows shut and closing the curtains when the day is at its hottest. And then equally in the winter, you can obviously just put the heating on a little bit and just get your room not too cold and then not too warm either. The next thing you can do is make your room as dark as possible. Now, nowadays, that's really easy to do because there's so many good blackout blinds and blackout curtains on the market that you can get your hands on. So that's really easy to do. And then you can just put a sleeping eye mask on if that's still an issue. And then the last one is noise. So with noise, you just want there to be limited outside interference. Obviously, some people need white noise to sleep, then that's fine, but just don't try to have it too loud. And don't be trying to go to sleep to your drill playlist on Spotify. Okay, so the next thing you can do and think about is your evening drinking and eating in the build up to bedtime. So when we eat food, it's going to stay in our stomach from any time from 40 minutes to 2 hours, okay? So if you're eating right before bed, your stomach's still going to be working while you're in bed, and that's not the signal we want to be sending our body. We want to be telling our body it's time to shut down, but eating right before bed is telling it that it still has work to do. So that means it might make it harder for us to get to sleep, okay? Now, this isn't an exact science, but I just would suggest eating any less than 2 hours before bed, okay? Drinking, obviously, you can still drink a little bit because obviously you need to stay hydrated. However, you don't want to be drinking loads right before bed because then obviously that can mean you're getting up in the night, needing the toilet. And if that's a real problem for you, as I know it can be for a lot of people, just try and drink the bulk of your water before the evening. So you still get hydrated and you're still getting your water in, but you're not obviously having to get up to go to the toilet every. Okay, so the next thing you can do is limiting your use of electronic devices. Now, I'm not the best at this. So I know you're feeling. I always get messages and emails on my phone, and I'm also always checking it almost right before bed. But we do know that blue light can affect your sleep quality, okay? So your laptops, your TVs, your phones all emit blue light. Now there are some things you can do, even if it's literally trying to do it half an hour before is what I'd suggest, because if you do much more, it might be difficult. If you can do that, then great. But I personally would really struggle to not look at my phone more than half an hour before bed. So that's a really good way of just trying to reduce this effect. You can also get blue light blocking glasses. Obviously, that's a bit more of an investment, so I'm not going to come here and say you have to spend this money for you to sleep. That's not the case at all. You can do it without. But it's just be thinking about it is better than just not thinking about it and be playing video games right up until you go to bed, because that's definitely not good. Okay, the next thing we're going to go through is stress management. Usually, one of the reasons that people don't sleep is because they're really stressed, whether this is about your relationship, whether this is about work or business or whatever. It all adds up. Everyone's got stress. Now, by trying to just de-stress and relax from the day you've just had before going to bed is a really good idea. One thing you can try is meditation, which isn't everyone's cup of tea, I know. But if you don't try it, you don't know if it's not going to work for you. There's different breathing methods you can use. One of the most common ones is the 4-7-8 method. Or you could also do something called a brain dump, which is literally where you have every thought in your head, you write it down on a piece of paper, and I mean literally everything going on in your head, just to try and get all your thoughts out of you before you try and go to bed, so you can go to bed with a nice clear mind. Now, I know a lot of these aren't everyone's cup of tea. Like, for example, the breathing methods just don't do it for me. But if you've never tried them, it definitely is worth a go, because you might find that you really like it and it really benefits you. So just be open-minded to things like that when it comes to stress management, because it can have a big impact on your sleep. Okay, so this one is going to, doesn't cause controversy because everyone knows this, but this definitely goes against the grain. Caffeine and alcohol awareness. This is definitely something that people don't think about when it comes to sleep. The moment you drink alcohol, it reduces the quality of your sleep because you are spending your less time in your REM sleep, which is rapid eye movement, which means your quality of sleep is negatively affected, okay? This happens even from one drink, okay? This isn't going out on the lash and having 23 pints. This is having, even one drink can affect this. Same with caffeine. We all know what caffeine does, okay? It makes you feel more awake. So naturally, if you have caffeine before bed, you're going to struggle to sleep, okay? That's not a simple one. That's not rocket science, okay? Now, caffeine and alcohol are part of a lot of people's lives. I'm not saying give it up at all, but I'm just saying think about it. If you know you need to get a good sleep tonight, something big's tomorrow, maybe don't drink, maybe don't have caffeine before bed. Simple as that. My last tip for you is just to monitor sleep patterns. Now, a lot of people wear wearable watches, Apple Watches, Whoops, that sort of thing, okay? All of these have ways of tracking your sleep. Now, just by paying attention to your sleep cycles, your heart rate variability, you can sort of see if there's a trend, if certain things work and they don't. So all of these tips you can implement almost one at a time, and you can see what might work, what might not. Just give them a bit of time to work. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. But because we can now monitor our sleep more accurately than ever before, it can be worth doing just to see how things are working for you. I will say this, you should still be aware naturally of how you're sleeping and go off feel to some extent, because you can't be using these devices as gospel, because the studies have shown there was quite a lot of variance in accuracy. Okay, so these can be a guideline, but do not rely on them. If you feel like you've slept great, then amazing. And just because your watch tells you that you're like a sack of shit today, doesn't matter, okay? If you feel great, then fine. Okay, so that's always the best thing to go off. And then if you're not sure, you can have a look at these monitoring patterns. Okay, so there's your tips to try and improve your sleep. I know thinking about sleep is really boring, but it's really important when it comes to our recovery. And I don't want to be hearing anyone say, oh, my recovery is amazing because I go in an ice bath for 40 minutes a day, but I get 5 hours sleep a night. It means your recovery is fucking shit, okay? Now, if you want more videos about recovery, then do like this video, because I have a recovery scale that I use with my clients to almost gamify this and actually make it a little bit more fun to think about recovery and things like that. So if you're interested in seeing that, then drop a like on the video. Obviously, if you think I missed anything, then drop it down in the comments below. And then obviously subscribe is always appreciated. Okay, I will leave you with this. If you take just one of these tips from this video, it could improve your sleep. Okay, not all of these are my cup of tea. I'm not gonna say that I do all of these because I don't, but I've tried all of them, and I think it's only fair that I acknowledge that these can help, and the studies have shown that these can help, and it's science backed. So I can give all of you guys the information you need, and then what you do with this information is completely up to you. So hopefully you all sleep like a baby going forwards, and I will see you in the next video.